So here's your notes on IP59. You're going to title it Carbon Chemistry and write down our essential question. We've already talked about how the essential elements to all living things are the CHNOPs, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur, but we also talked about how carbon is the most important one. Today, our essential question is, what is it about carbon that makes it the most important one? What are the characteristics of carbon that make it the essential element in all living things? You're going to have 3 sections of notes today, so you need 3 questions to go with those notes, and at least a 3-sentence answer that will answer this essential question. Pause this video to start these notes. Here's the first section of notes. It's kind of a review. I want you to copy down what's in blue, everything here and everything here, and then I want you to do a little bit of background information. You already know the symbol for carbon, and if you don't, you can look it up. You already know how to do a Bohr diagram. You know how to figure out the number of valence electrons and Lewis dot structure. So I want you to pause this video and figure that out from your periodic table now. The symbol for carbon is C, and your Bohr diagram should look something like this. 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. But carbon has 4 valence electrons on the outermost shell, so the Lewis dot structure will look like this. Here's a huge part of the answer to our essential question. It's because of those valence electrons that carbon can bond with itself and lots of other elements in various ways. Section 2, carbon's bonds. Because carbon has 4 valence electrons, which I'm going to say over and over and over again is the perfect amount, it can form 4 chemical bonds with itself or with other atoms. And since it can form 4 chemical bonds with itself and other atoms, it makes this a very unique property. It can form single, double, or triple bonds with other carbon atoms. So here's how that works. Let's say carbon has 4 valence electrons, but it takes 2 carbon atoms come together and share 2 valence electrons. That would make a single bond, and therefore it would still have 3 valence electrons left over to form with other hydrogen atoms. In this case, 2 carbon atoms are sharing 4 of its valence electrons, making a double bond like this, so it's a little bit of a stronger compound, still having 2 valence electrons left over to bond with hydrogen atoms. In another case, though, 2 carbon atoms could share 6 of its valence electrons, making a triple bond, a very strong compound, and still have a valence electron left over to bond with a hydrogen atom. This is what makes carbon so unique. Not a lot of other elements can form single, double, and triple bonds, but carbon can do all 3 because it has the perfect amount of valence electrons. Pause again and draw the structures of the valence electrons as well as the pictures of the atoms and the compounds with the bonds themselves. Section 3, carbon chains and rings. So because carbon has this really unique property, carbon can form long chains or chains of rings like this that are almost unlimited in length. I want you to very quickly sketch these structures of carbon and how they bond with other hydrogen atoms. This is an essential way of drawing atoms and how they bond together in compounds when you're studying chemistry. This is section 3 continued. Because of its unique property to combine in many ways with itself and other elements, carbon has a very important role in the chemistry of living organisms. Now this is pretty complicated, so you don't have to draw these pictures, but I want you to see this. This would be a molecule of fat or lipid. This would be a molecule of sugar or a carbohydrate like we talked about yesterday. This would be a molecule of what a protein would look like, and a molecule of nucleic acids. Notice that carbon is the building block for every single one of these molecules, and remembering that yesterday, these are the 4 important molecules in all living things. So there it is. Carbon is unique because it has 4 valence electrons, and it can form several different types of bonds with itself and other atoms. And because of this, it can form chains that are almost unlimited in length and therefore forms the molecules that are essential to all living things. Go back through your notes, write a question for each section, and a 3-sentence answer for your essential question.